there I got a chance to send a request to Mr. Narayan Murthy to interview him, and he gave me appointment. Not only appointment for a short visit, it was a 1 hour conversation with him.
What happened? Searching people on job platform like Naukri.com. We are going to, like in US, we are going to Dice.com or maybe maximum LinkedIn.com, right? But today, with the help of right tools, like we use a tool called HireEasy, there is another tool called Seek Out. So there are so many platforms nowadays. I can use them and I can find people on more than 100 platforms.
So ChatGPT has recently been introduced in India, and it has been used vastly in United States.
Okay.
Because if you will try to log in the US hours, you would not be able to actually.
So great morning, audience. It's an amazing experience for me today. Though I've been holding these heart-to-heart conversations over the last few months, I think this must be 42nd or I think 42nd, 43rd conversation. But this is the first time when I'm going to be talking to them, when I've got the pleasure and privilege to be talking to a couple. I'm talking to Yogesh and Parul, and both are absolutely the stalwarts when it comes to the field of employer branding. And this is one topic, Yogesh and Parul, where I think on which we have never spoken. In all these conversations, it's such a pleasure for me to be welcoming both of you. And actually, initially, the idea was for me to talk to Yogesh, but then Yogesh suggested on the very first instance that, okay, can Parul also join? And if you take a step back, even before that, the very reason I spoke with Yogesh was because Yogesh wanted some insight from me while talking about the book which I think Parul has written. Sorry, Parul, I think I've just divulged it to I've revealed it to the audience, but I'm pretty sure that audience is going to look forward to the book which is going to come. And that is going to put some additional accountability on Parul to let the book come out as soon as possible. So in both the cases, here is Yogesh, here is a person who I think for whom I must put my hands together, because Parul, I'm pretty sure you are in the field of talent attraction as well. You must be making a lot of decisions about getting the right talent, but I can tell you one thing with full conviction, with full confidence. When it came to you making the decision about the most important decision of getting the life partner, you made the right decision. Here is a husband who is always caring for the wife and her book, and the fact that he wants you to come and share your thoughts and ideas and inspiring messages. Thank you so much, Yogesh, for making this suggestion to let Parul be in this conversation. And Parul, I think before I go and speak a bit about both of you, I saw one picture somewhere on LinkedIn. It's a small feed which is talking about your one-to-one conversation, rather heart-to-heart conversation with Mr. Narayan Murthy. So I'm so privileged and blessed today for the simple fact that the person who has spoken with all the big people, super inspiring people, she also accepted the invitation from me and Yogesh. Isn't it, Yogesh, to be a part of this conversation? So, Parul, let's start with maybe some of these. So, what were those one or two, feelings or thoughts when you spoke with Mr. Murthy? And then we'll get into introduction, and then we'll speak a bit more. And once again, a hearty welcome to both of you. It's such a pleasure for me to be talking to Yogesh and Parul. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arun, for having us.
So, Parul, what were those one or two thoughts when you spoke with people like Narayan Murthy? And then we'll get into the conversation. I mean, something which I couldn't restrain myself from asking. Yeah.
I think that I cannot distinguish my thoughts of speaking with someone like you and then someone like Narayan Murthy, because I would say that I always love meeting people who are learned and who have traveled to places and who have brought a difference in the society and who are trying to contribute a lot in the society. So I would say that every time and anytime when I'm meeting someone who is trying to make a difference, this is something which is really fortunate for me, because I think that I feel that if I'm meeting such people, I am taking their learnings along with me. So it's a shortcut of learning. So reading 1,000 books and then meeting someone who is as good as 1,000 books. So who's a replica of actually knowledge, who's a knowledge. That was a feeling when I met Mr. Narayan Murthy, because I started my career as a lecturer and soon after joined Infosys Technologies. So I worked there as a software engineer for 2 years.
Right.
And then when I left Infosys and I started my work as a co-founder for Rangroot Services, there I got a chance to send a request to Mr. Narayan Murthy to interview him, and he gave me appointment. Not only appointment for a short visit, it was a 1 hour conversation with him. His thoughts about the venture, and his thoughts about me getting into entrepreneurship. It's his thoughts about women empowerment, his thoughts about students getting into placements, the early career placements, fresher hiring, and all of these. So if you're asking about my thoughts, it was like I was actually meeting a god, I would say.
My goodness. I think, Parul, even before we actually formally started this conversation, you have said something which makes me reflect. And actually, I get a feeling that we have got some very powerful lessons, which if audience, I think I'm pretty sure audience is pretty wise, and they will, once they get this message which you spoke about, I think we have served the purpose of this 1 hour conversation. You said something very interesting. And first of all, let me say that thank you so much for making my day. I think my wife and my family, when they watch this conversation, when they see that, I mean, indirectly, you said that you found all the conversations inspiring, including the conversation with me. I think thank you so much for making us feel inspired. Having said that, you said something very interesting. And I think that's a message which I also have been sharing with people. That, of course, Mr. Murthy, Mr. Narayan Murthy, as well as Mrs. Sudha Murthy, I think both are super inspiring personalities. Having said that, when it comes to me, I think I see a very inspiring person, very inspiring lessons, very inspiring books in each and every person. And I would like to reflect all that you said, Parul, while talking about you, while talking about Yogesh. Thank you so much, Yogesh and Parul, once again for this heart-to-heart conversation, because I personally know for sure, without any trace of doubt, that we all have got super inspiring messages. It's just that people keep on looking for some superstars, some celebrities, and some other people for those messages, whereas some of the messages which I'm pretty sure Parul is going to share, some of the inspiring messages which I'm pretty sure which Yogesh is going to share, are going to be the most powerful lessons which one can just act on, and then can see the magical transformations happening in the field of life and career. Thank you so much. So audience, let me say a bit about Yogesh and Parul. So Yogesh has started his career, I think, in 2003 when he joined IBM, which is one of the best known names in the field of information technology. And then I can see that Yogesh always had this vision, this idea of doing something big, something full of challenges. So he co-founded and became the principal consultant in a company called Srajan Consultancy Services. And there I can see that he hired almost 3,000 people in almost 120 days. So already I think the numbers which you have spoken about, Yogesh, is something which people like me who are coming from manufacturing background can't even fathom the depth of this. So in manufacturing, I have seen 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 people being recruited in 1 year. And here we are talking about 3,000 people being recruited in just 3 to 4 months. So amazing. Once again, I'm so inspired to be talking to you, Yogesh. And then Yogesh got into a company called IT Recruitment, where again, it's IT-based company where he worked in the field of recruitment. And then there is a company called Rangroot, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Of course, Yogesh is going to talk a bit about it. So Rangroot HR Consulting, in which he worked for 4 years. I think it's a pretty big name in the field of IT and BPO-based hiring. And then Yogesh became the chief manager in talent acquisition in a company called AP Globale, in which I think one of our friends is working currently, Vinod. Yeah, so I was just talking to him.
Yes, Vinod has recently joined.
Yeah, Vinod. And then Yogesh joined this company as global head talent acquisition and employer branding called Skill on Technologies. And then he's currently the employer branding and talent acquisition leader in a company called eClerks, almost 2 decades of experience, deep experience in the field of talent, identifying, attracting, and getting the right talent for the organization. And I'm pretty sure it's not only about the depth, it's not only about the quality of hiring, it's also about the numbers, I think, which seem to be getting into thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands, I do not know. So, Yogesh, I can say with full confidence today that for the first time talking to somebody who has got such a depth in the field of talent acquisition. Because, of course, I think when we talk about talent acquisition in the field of IT, it's totally a different, deep and I think huge area. Thank you so much for joining, Yogesh. It's such a pleasure for me to have you in this conversation. Talking about Parul, as audience knows that Parul already has given a bit of introduction. I think she has already said, I think, Parul, I didn't know that you started your career as a lecturer in Institute of Technology and Management, which is great. ITM Gwalior, absolutely, I've heard of this name. Yeah, I've heard this name. And then she, as she said, she joined Infosys Technologies. She was software engineer. And coding and software is something which my daughter is very comfortable. I just don't know. It's great to me. So hats off. And then she became the talent acquisition consultant in a company called the same organization, Rangroot Services India Private Limited. I don't know whether this was the same time when both of you met for the first time. I'm just making this thing guess, but I think I see this common connection between both of you. And then she became a talent acquisition consultant in a company called Sharma, and currently, and then Capgemini for almost 5 years, more than 5 years. And now she's in a company called Viasat. Is it the way we pronounce it, Viasat?
Viasat.
Viasat, right. Yeah. Enclave, where she has been working for more than 2 years. So I think I'm already inspired to see two people who are stalwarts, who are absolutely experts in the field of IT-based organizations, talent acquisition, and of course, you also have been a lecturer and a speaker in some of these management colleges. And you already, I think people know that you already have spoken with people like Mr. Narayan Murthy. The very first moment when I shared this message with Yogesh and Parul whether they can come for this conversation, they said absolutely yes. And actually, we had to wait for a couple of weeks because something which kept on happening. But finally, I'm here with both of you. So Yogesh, let's start with you. When you look back on your 2 decades of in-depth experience in the field of getting the right talent, which are those couple of thoughts which come to your mind? Because it's something which is super inspiring. We are talking for the first time, talking to somebody who has got such a deep experience in this field of talent acquisition and branding. Yeah.
Right. So, Arun, I hope I'm clearly audible, right? Because
absolutely clearly visible, audible, and you're looking so inspiring. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. So, Arun, I just saw that in introduction you mentioned like 3,000 people in 120 days. I think this is what I updated when I actually created my LinkedIn profile in 2006-7.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, those numbers at that time looked really big. Right. So
for me, the numbers are still looking big. For anybody with manufacturing based organizations. Yeah, coming
right.
from yeah.
I think, look, those are pretty young days. We started our career, and I think the economy at that time, particularly in the sector I was working, I was mostly into that moment. I was into banking and financial.
Yeah.
And 3,000 would really, really big. But as you said, after 2 decades, how do I look at it, right? So look, I have graduated, like I have moved from business. So maybe I would say till 2009, I was into phase of like more of an execution. So numbers were like, I always wanted numbers. So if somebody says hiring 1,000 people, 200 people, let's say, or maybe any project that comes in, I always looked at this and from the number point of view. Okay, these number of people, this is the pool available, this is how we need to hire and job done, right?
Wow.
But after 2009, I started, thinking a little differently, how to, I started looking at talent acquisition more from a strategic point of view. And luckily, I joined Parul at Rangroot, right? Parul co-founded Rangroot after her stint in IIM Bangalore, and she came in and she started Rangroot, and yes, she took help of Narayana Murthy and so many other people. And that's how, and then I joined her in Rangroot and, left Srajan. After that, then I started looking at the different side of it, how we can bring in more automation, AI, system driven stuff, so how we can scale it up, how we can do better rather than, because initially I thought that, talent acquisition is a sales job. It's like, you go call, sell and do this, right? But then slowly, I started, if you look at my career, so when I joined Rangroot, I started looking at more from an automation point of view, how we can scale it better, how we can bring in a self-service model to hire. Right. And then I joined AP Globale, where I got good exposure in terms of how globally things happen. Right. My previous experience was mostly in India, but with AP Globale, I got to understand how different geographies are working in, how it is being perceived, how the talent is available, talent availability in different parts of the world, and how business is moving as according to talent. So it's not that the talent is moving according to business. So if I've got a talent in Manila, maybe I'll move my entire business to Manila, now. So I saw that change
So truly a global
in
experience, I can see. Truly a global experience in terms of hiring talent, and of course,
right,
in different
right.
cultures and looking for maybe same set of competencies. But then when you look at the same set of competencies while looking at different cultural kind of geographies, maybe things might be changing a bit, isn't it? And I can believe the
Exactly.
kind of depth of experience which you must have got while interviewing people from different geographies. How people react when they're selected, or how do people react when they are not, when they get a feeling that they might not be selected. Must have got lots and lots of.
Right.
So now I
So
started reading
Arun,
lots of books, and within you also, within you also.
right. So Arun, one of the interesting part is people are same, So they have the similar aspiration. They
Yeah,
have similar requirement, irrespective of country we are going.
yeah,
What is more important is, how country, each country has a different framework, in terms of
yeah.
talent acquisition. It is
Mm.
very, very different, in terms of compliance, how you approach people, how do you hire them. Like in Japan, it is very, very different compared to what we do in US. India is very different, right? India, you just pick up a call, speak to anybody, but something that we can't do in Europe, right? So what is the culture thing that you learn, framework that you learn, compliance framework that you learn? One very important part, Arun, that I want to mention in my career, by 2016, 17, 18, I started realizing when I was with Thomas Cook, managing all the geographies across the globe. Like Thomas Cook, it's more than 100-year-old company everywhere across the world. And
Yeah,
that's where I learned, we now need to move talent, we need to transform talent acquisition, So
yeah.
what marketing did to sales, I think employer branding will gonna do to the talent acquisition practices. And
Mm.
that's where, I moved to employer branding. And today, when I'm working with e-clerks, right, I am not just talent acquisition, I'm also into employer branding. And I very strongly believe, like, the way companies have stopped having sales function, right? I don't think Amazon has got sales representative in the company. So now they have just marketing team. So majority of the companies now have more of marketing team and content driven sales guys compared to the actual previous sales driven guys. Similarly, I think in talent acquisition will transform ourselves more into branding, education, awareness, and reaching out to right kind of people with the help of analytics compared to what we are doing today. I think we are in a journey of this, and this is where I'm sitting at. I think I and Parul together, we are at an inflection point. Where we are just at a point of transformation. You never know when it will completely get transformed. The way other things have happened in the world, like taxi services move from call to app in a day, right? Like our the way we order food like on
Yeah.
Zomato, it just changed, in a day. It didn't took much time, right? Just maybe a previous week, I was just calling a restaurant and getting food at home, and just after a week, I switched to Zomato and Swiggy and started ordering food. So I think we are sitting somewhere here, and let's see how we're gonna move.
So in case you want to update the numbers on LinkedIn now in terms of hiring of people, so what will that 3,000 number become now in today's context? Just to let audience have some ideas what kind of skill we're talking about.
Right. So Arun, it doesn't matter, whether it is 3,000 or 30,000.
Yeah.
What really matters is where we are hiring, what we are hiring,
Yeah.
for whom we are hiring. If we have answers of these three questions, I think then it's just a matter of time. Again, what timelines? So you tell me 120 days, we'll get it in 120 days. You tell me 1 year, we'll get it in 1 year. It just
And the same is
now
true with
it
numbers
doesn't
also.
matter.
Anybody can give any number and then time frame, and then you can kind of make it happen. And of course, we're talking about IT, we're talking
Yeah,
about
what
thousands of numbers here. I think, no, you rightly said,
exactly.
I think it's absolutely right. It's not about the numbers at all. I mean, the numbers are one aspect, but it's also about getting the right talent in. And I'm pretty sure you also spoke about one thing, which is HR analytics. And nowadays people are talking about ChatGPT and some of these things. So I think, is it true that when it comes to IT, hiring is completely different from some of the other traditional conventional sectors in the way that you are going to use it's a good mix of people decisions, interactions, face-to-face interactions, so virtual interactions, as well as using a bit of technologies. So would you love to talk about the contribution of technology into it and how ChatGPT and some of these artificial intelligence things which are people are talking about nowadays come into the field of hiring in IT sector? Because something which I am getting inspired to know more about. It's very interesting. Yeah.
Okay, this question is for me.
Yes,
Arun,
for you, anybody can take. Any.
Arun would like to take this up?
I think Yogesh, first you can actually take it up, and then I will add if there is anything which I think I should
something
add.
about something
Yes,
about the role of technology in this field of AI and all the kind of stuff which people are talking about when it comes to hiring in IT. Yeah.
I'll tell you. So Arun, no doubt, when it comes to IT hiring, right?
Yeah.
One of the biggest problem, there are two challenges right here. One is the talent availability because skills are changing so fast, right?
Especially in IT, a lot of
Right.
new
So maybe,
inventions.
if you look at the JD, for example, people are writing 5 years, experience in this skill, but actually that skill would have introduced just 3 years back, right?
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
So it is changing so fast. We are not changing our JD that fast. JD is still the same, but there is no skill at that time. So again, what is happening here in IT? In IT now it's more about, do you have any relevant understanding of the skill? Can you really go and implement project in place? So one is in IT, in any IT hiring, one is the challenge is the availability of talent where it is available. Second, at the cost also, because if you look at in the last 3-4 years, cost of the talent has gone up by 3x, 4x. What we are hiring before compared to pre-COVID era.
Right.
And this is not the Indian scenario, right? Across the world, right?
Right.
So cost of the talent, especially in IT, is a huge challenge.
Yeah.
Third important area is how challenges. How would you want to assess these people? So what happens? Like most of the time, you meet these guys and they already have 2 or 3 offers. And when you try to assess them, they are not even ready to take an interview, right? They are like, fine, we have an offer. If you are interested, fine. Or else I'm going back, right? So assessment is becoming very, very difficult. But I think that's where IT has, again, as you mentioned, like IT has really helped us to solve the problem up to a certain extent. Let me start from the last one, assessment part. So now we have various tools through which we can assess these guys online. Right? So what happened previously when I was taking interview, it was like I'm asking them questions, they are replying. Sometimes they are very well trained. After 1 minute interviews, they know what to answer. But today what happened, in online interviews, I'll just take them to my platform like maybe Hacker Earth, Hacker Rank, or GitHub. I take them to any project and ask them to just, okay, maybe let's take 10 minutes and try to solve this problem right here, right? Find a bug. So one assessment on these skills is much easier compared to what it was, right? Second important is in terms of talent availability, because of IT and because of this virtual remote working. Now I don't have to depend on, if my office is in Bangalore, I have to hire somebody in Bangalore. Look, I'm based in Gwalior, right? I'm 100% remote. My company is in Bombay, Pune, Chandigarh, US, Manila, everywhere, right? Parul is based out in Gwalior, and her organization in India is in Chennai, and then she is managing things globally.
Absolutely.
So today I go and hire talent anywhere. Like recently, I remember we are doing a project. We are looking for skill, and we hired people from Brazil, right?
Yeah.
Not that this talent is available only over there, and then we go and will hire people somewhere else. So for me, distance doesn't matter today. So this is how IT has changed. And very importantly, in terms of talent acquisition, I think Parul can add here better, is the way we search people. Previously, what happened? Searching people on job platform like Naukri.com. We are going to, like in US, we are going to dice.com or maybe maximum LinkedIn.com, right? But today, with the help of right tools, like we use a tool called Hire Easy, there is another seek out. So there are so many platforms nowadays. I can use them and I can find people on more than 100 platforms. Like Quora.com, I can find people on GitHub, I can find people on Kaggle. There are different communities for different skill, and I can just go there and I can find them, right? And I think Parul is the expert of it, so she can bring in more light here. But IT has completely changed the way talent acquisition has been working and what we are doing now.
So this is very, of course, we'll move on to Parul. I think I see some very, very path-breaking ideas when it comes to hiring in the field of IT. Because first of all, when it comes to hiring in some of these traditional, conventional sectors, we all talk about LinkedIn, Naukri, and maybe 90% of problems are sorted out, right? These are the two forums. And here we are talking about hundreds of, maybe 100 odd websites. We are talking about Quora. I mean, normally people like us who think that, Quora is only for getting some answers and all.
Questions and answers.
And here you are also using Quora to hire people. So Parul, I think, is getting more and more respected a profession. This this field of talent acquisition when it comes to IT. So over to you, if you would like to add something. It looks like pretty unique and niche skill in area field.
Yeah. So I'll start with your question of asking about how ChatGPT and AI is contributing to the hiring.
Yeah.
And then I'll move to these platforms. Sure. So ChatGPT has recently been introduced in India, and it has been used vastly in United States.
Okay.
Because if you will try to log in the US hours, you would not be able to actually. It's so like all the time it's busy, unless you're already logged in, and there's a fight to log in. That kind of productivity it has. And in our day-to-day as a talent acquisition professional, I would say that a lot of the work which we have been doing repeatedly, like making job descriptions, drafting some kind of mails, uh, like kind of trying to pull out certain content with respect to some topics, sending a recognition mail, anything where you may need any assistance. It's nothing but you have to just click on ChatGPT, paste your query, and you will get right set of answers. Now, if you have the answers which you don't like, you have an option to improvise it. You can always say that, can you regenerate the response? And this ChatGPT has been capable enough to understand your point of view, your opinions, your questions, your way of responding to the things, that gradually it will learn from you how you are planning to respond. And accordingly, after series of interaction with ChatGPT, one day it will be able to understand and in the first response itself what you are looking for. So for me, ChatGPT has brought down a lot of repetitive stuff, and it has saved a lot of time for me and my team who all are using it. Still, there are a lot of mixed reactions for people. People are thinking that it will take away jobs. It will be risky for people. But I would say that machine can never take away jobs unless you know how to use them. Unless you know that how to use for your own favor. Because there were time when we were using silbattas for making chutney, right? But we have mixers. Doesn't mean that it has taken away the jobs of the household help. They are still using it, but they are more productive. They are utilizing their time on some other things. So similarly, I think ChatGPT is a tool like Sniper AI. There are tools which help us screen right set of resumes. So let's say if I'm sitting for and working for a position and I have to screen 1,000 resumes. Right. It is practically not possible for me to go through with all resumes. What I'll do as a human, I will just look at top 10 resumes and will filter out the top 3 or 4 which are matching to the requirement. But if I have a platform like Sniper AI or others like Paradox and all of them, I would be able to just assign my task to that tool, and that will do my job of screening the resumes, provide me the rating of which candidate has scored 100, which has scored 90, which has scored 80, which has scored 70, and it will leave decision up to me what kind of rating I am going to pick up and how much reliable I can be on that tool, and what kind of information I need to use and what kind of information I should drop. So I think that your question was that how we can
very nicely.
And I would like to add on here, Parul very interestingly brought in, the use cases, right? So I just got few things just came to my mind, like where we got success, right? Coming to, like, for example, Parul mentioned about Sniper AI. Arun, we have seen, like when in Sniper AI is giving a score of matching 8,
Yeah.
You know, chances of that person getting selected increase by more than 70%. Right? So it's not just sniper AI, even all other products, like we have been using Skillet at eClerks. So there are different products available, right? Another thing I will just give you, like I'm just going one by one what Parul has mentioned, like whether people will lose job, right? So maybe, you know, everybody's thinking about it, but let me give you a use case, you know. Recently, I had around two copywriters with me, you know, just to help me with writing, you know, respond to reviews.
Yeah.
We are getting on a Glassdoor, Ambition Box, and other places. And we have been doing a lot of deliberation in terms of they give me a something, a card, I go through with it, other people go through with it, and you know, it's a complete chain, and then we post it, right? Because of ChatGPT, you know, I sometimes I think I don't even need that one copywriter who I have today. So I had two, now I have one, and sometimes I think I don't need this. You know, my manager can do this job without even a copywriter, because I have been able to write really customized different reviews, right, against everyone. Each of the review that comes to Glassdoor, I can write a customized review as per my company, right? It's very specific to what my company does. So this is another use case of ChatGPT, and very importantly, what Parul has said about job description. So as I told you, like, you know, we are moving from push to pull based talent
Strategy.
acquisition,
Yeah.
right? So we were into push based talent acquisition, where I will call Arun and I will say, hey, Arun, I have a job for you. Come join me and all that.
Yeah.
Today, if Arun would be speaking to, let's say, her wife and say, hey, I'm not happy with this job. I think I need to learn maybe data science and I want to get into a new job, right? What happened with Arun in the morning? Arun will get two kind of advertisement. One from a training institute which teach you data science. Another one, it may be a company like eClerk says, I have a data science job for you, right? So what happened when Arun will click on that link, I need to educate Arun on why you should choose eClerks for data science job. And for this, I need a really scientific JD, which ChatGPT can write far, far better than my recruiters, frankly speaking.
Exactly.
I have no doubt to say that, right? Even I can't write what ChatGPT if I provide right input to the my AI engine. So this is how my job becomes very, very easy. Look, I'm not living in an ideal world, writing ideal JD. But now I can easily write a JD and I can create a content for Arun if you want to make him understand that why eClerks is the best place to come and join us for data science job. And so this is how, you know, things are changing.
Beautifully. I think there is this debate. This seems to be an ongoing debate which is going on social media, on TV channels, whether ChatGPT and some of these AI tools are going to take away some jobs. The way I think over the last 15 minutes, I think the way both of you explained, it's very clear that as human beings, we have got some unique abilities. We need to keep on upgrading our skills. We need to keep on upgrading ourselves in the field which is only going to be done by human beings.
Humans.
Having said that, if I just think of that movie, I just while you were narrating the way some of the work which people have been doing, like in terms of sorting out some of these, thick bunch of papers. I think those jobs are going to be outsourced to ChatGPT and some of these AI tools for sure. This movie, Three Idiots. I know when Virus, the head of this institution, comes to give a demo to all the students, and then there are some 6-7 people who are carrying those cardboard boxes full of all the resumes of people who have not succeeded in the examination, right? So those hundreds and thousands of resumes which he throws on the ground, I think those 6 or 7 people who might be helping Virus, for example, in sorting out all those resumes, in carrying all this, so those people might have to upgrade themselves to a next level of skill set where they are still in demand. So I think audience is a very powerful topic which you are talking about, which is the topic of change. Changes are happening. Some of the team members of Iros also are going to lose their job, because now all this sorting job is going to be done by ChatGPT and some of these AI tools like Sniper and some of these things which you spoke about. And even in manufacturing sector, I've seen, Yogesh, for a timing, if we just look at the conventional sectors, even in conventional sectors, for each position which is being advertised, we get 1,500 resumes. Is just simply not possible for us to do it ourselves manually.
That is right.
So in the past, maybe some of these hiring recruitment heads who might be having 4 or 5 people who might be just sorting through this job, they better listen, learn, and their antenna has to go up. Now the time is changed.
Yeah,
So this is
absolutely.
very powerfully explained, both of you. It's very clear. Yeah, so we have to keep on upgrading. It's a change which is running now. It's like change is on train, it's running behind us. We have to keep on changing. And the fact
Arun,
is, yes, jobs are
sorry to interrupt
going
you.
to be lost. Yeah, in a very, sorry, you're saying something.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but since you brought in manufacturing, because that's you have been you worked in manufacturing for a long time. But I must tell you, like I've been doing training, right, from very, very long time. And I have got a lot of people who came from manufacturing sector, and they are always like, I don't think for us these things works, right? Because it's a very traditional sector, and we still follow traditional practices to find people. But trust me, we to a to very, very remote places where manufacturing plants exist, right? Like in Surat and near Surat, Ankaleshwar, or
Yeah.
maybe somewhere near, Darjeeling, or some small places where manufacturing plants are there. And we have been able to find really good talent using social media out of these places. And that too place on platforms like Quora, Facebook.com, right? And so, trust me, whether it is manufacturing or it's anything, today, if you
It's
use,
there. It's everywhere.
like,
It's there.
like in US, if you want to find doctors, the best place to find doctors is actually Quora.com.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
They are the one who are there to answer people questions, because people ask them, I'm not feeling good, which I to take
Which
second opinion,
medicine?
I go to Quora, and
Yeah.
the person there to answer them. Yeah.
That's
Wow.
right. That's right. That's right. And Arun, I would also like to add something here. Like uh, previously, Yogesh mentioned about tools like uh, GitHub, Kaggle, Dribble. Then there are Behance. Uh, there are a lot of different tools. I mean, as you said, there are 1,000 different tools. Now, when we are talking about people upgrading themselves, we also need not to miss out an important parameter here, that people should know when to switch to different platforms, when to have presence in different platforms. Now, a traditional recruiter might look for candidates on LinkedIn, Naukri, Dice. Then there are other, in Australia, we hire from Seek. Then we have Hired. We have clearance jobs for United States cleared candidates. So there are different tools where traditionally we hire.
Yeah.
But if you want to get hired from exceptional recruiters, you have to make your presence on exceptional platforms like GitHub, Behance, Kaggle, Dribble, because otherwise you will get a regular job like a regular candidate. But if you want to be a exceptional candidate, if you want to get placed in a great company you are willing to, then you have to make an exceptional presence as well. And for that, it's important for a candidate to upgrade themselves. If they will kind of get fear of ChatGPT, they may not be able to actually sustain. But rather than that, what about mentioning in the resume that kind of efficient in using ChatGPT? Because
Yeah.
ChatGPT is there. Why don't you pen down that, I'm really efficient in using ChatGPT. I'm efficient in hiring from AI tools, because you cannot get away from that. You cannot
This
hide
is
from. You cannot
reality.
follow the ostrich tendency of just thinking that no, these tools are not present. I'm not looking at them. You have to accept the fact and move on. So I completely
Yeah.
agree that you have to make that kind of resume, and you have to start upgrading yourself with respect to different skills, so that you are identified as a exceptional talent.
Right. So,
Yes.
Arun,
Yeah, go on, go on, yeah.
in recruitment, we call it as a post and pray syndrome.
Yeah.
Come again, post?
Post
Post
and
and
pray.
pray syndrome. So we
Okay.
post it and then we pray कि कुछ हो जाएगा. Right, and we don't believe in it, huh?
No, I can tell you one thing, that I have had many conversations so far, but I think this is one conversation which is so deep and so insightful and so value adding, that I think I'm getting a feeling that if just somebody who wants to step into the field of talent acquisition can just watch the last 25 minutes and can actually get a hang of how to start hiring. See how the world is changing. There are thousands of mavericks or iconoclasts, what do we say, who want to break through, who are working overnight on new AI tools, right? There are thousands of tools, you said, right? Quora, somebody thought of Quora, somebody has got some other thing, and there are so many AI tools which are already there. I think ChatGPT is a typical example of branding and marketing. Before that, there are hundreds of tools, right, which are already there.
Yeah.
It's just that ChatGPT came and then everybody is talking about ChatGPT. And there is something which ChatGPT must have done, and because of which, and Bard and all that, I think because of this competition, people have started talking about. So this is another example of marketing. Otherwise, there are so many tools which I'm pretty sure people like you have been using over the last maybe many months, maybe more than a year. So the world is changing very fast. I'm just thinking about one thing while conversing with both of you. I had this common question with many leaders who came for this conversation in the past as what are the qualities, which are the qualities they are looking for. They all said something like attitude, background, and their ability to, their winning mindset and some of these things. But now we are getting a feeling that when it comes to IT, for example, and some of these hiring which you're talking about, I'm not making any differentiation among, but there is something which is very unique to this field. I think here I think things are changing and skill sets are changing at a very fast, rapid pace, isn't it?
Yeah.
Being in this field and being at the cutting edge of this field and leading this field over the last 2 decades for both of you, let's put our hands together. It means you both are, everybody who is a leader in this field is learning with every passing week or day or month or something. I think that's very interesting. So shall we talk a bit about this learning mindset and how do you ensure that Yogesh and Parul, you are absolutely ahead of this world which is changing so fast? So how do you read or learn? How do you learn? I mean, how do you upgrade yourself? Is it like through some online courses, something? So let's inspire the audience to learn something at a fast pace. So over to both of you, whatever you want to share.
Yogesh, you want to take it up first?
Okay. So maybe I'll start with Arun. Like I just see a photograph behind you, right?
Yeah.
This is just last around 2 weeks back. I was in XLRI.
Okay.
Right? It was a small event there.
Jamshedpur?
Right? Yeah.
Jamshedpur.
Jamshedpur, yes.
Wow. I spent there 1 year. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. So this is the Makkah of HR, at least in India, right? And I
Mm.
was there. I was speaking to their professors, right? And I just shared few of the insight what we are doing in talent acquisition, right? Actually on field, and I wanted to know if their student really understand, what we are doing. And then I also took class sessions of around more than 100 students there.
Wow.
And I met these students, and I must tell you, hardly anybody knew that, what we are really into in talent acquisition. Though they have very good fundamental understanding of what human resource is, what talent acquisition is, from traditional point of view. But what they're really doing on the ground, how is it getting transformed? I really didn't find them very well aware about it, right? So just about it, and I'm saying this is XLRI, right? Then there are other 400 institutions in India who are teaching human resource. And I think one of the responsibility I believe I have, or each one in talent acquisition who is working today, is to actually train our manpower, right? Currently, what happened? We really don't have people who understand all this, right? When we bring them in on board, it takes a lot of time to get them understand, what you are trying to do, where are we going, right? We don't want to hire in a similar way, like just go to Naukri and call 20 people, right? So one is the learning. There are two sides of learning. One is what we have learned. We want other people to learn, and they should understand where we are going, right? Yeah. Second is, I must tell you, I don't look at things what is happening in India. I actually look at things the way things are happening globally, right? And I must tell you, there are few leaders across, globally who are doing great, who really understand where we are going, and they are taking us ahead. In India also, like Parul is the one. Then there are a few other people who are doing great job from whom we have learned, right? What they are doing in not just in sourcing, but the entire talent acquisition landscape. There are few leaders who understand it really well. And I see a lot of talent acquisition leaders today who don't want to be CHRO. I'm one of them, right? Right. So the idea is that we are into TA, right? We don't understand anything about HR, right? And then there are so many across the world with whom we understand what is employer branding. Like I'll tell you like how we learn, since specific to your question. I remember one sayings, where one said that when you learn, you just learn, but when you teach, you learn.
That's the best way of learning.
That's right.
So this is what got me into a kind of teaching, where I started teaching people and I started learning from each one of them, right? So today till now, like I've trained around 18,000, and that really helped me, to understand from different places across the globally. So I get to learn, what is happening in US, this industry, what is happening in Philippines, what is happening in India also, in which part of India, what is happening, in which industry, how people are recruiting. So I think one of the best learning is this. Second is again learning at different levels. So I recently took one workshop of employer branding, and they were around. It was organized by Economic Times, and there were around 50 employer branding heads and CHROs from different companies, including few of the top companies in India. And that again was a very learning experience. One, there were other, like it was a 5 day, 8 hour sessions. So one, I learned from other speakers. Second, I also learned from the participants, the kind of best practices they are having in their organization. So I think one of the best way of learning at my age today, I would say, is more of a, meeting more and more people and understand their challenges and how they are trying to resolve it. And then see, and since technology is changing every day, how, it's a mix of everything. It's like
Yeah.
making a cocktail every day. It's a new cocktail every day, and see where will you get
Beautiful,
success.
beautifully explained. I think there are a couple of thoughts which are coming to my mind. First thing is that somebody told me some time ago that there is a hotel in Pune, which is the people know, those who are from Pune. Hotel Taj Blue Diamond, and now I think it became Vivanta, and now it's Blue Diamond. So there is a Japanese restaurant, and the master chef of Japanese restaurant, he earns more than the general manager of the hotel. So talent acquisition head and CHRO. I think it's a strong area where you are, and I think it's a great place to be. Amazing. Second thing is that, as you said, and there I see a big gap actually. What you said is very right. Like in XLRI, so people are studying in XLRI for 2 years. I often tell my mentees that what I learned in XLRI is something which is maybe 1/10 of what I learned from life over the last few years. And then I realized that, okay, what I have been doing is doing and teaching in what I go, doing and sharing. And then you start seeing what is working, what is not working. Suppose I have learned something while implementing some habits in my life, and then I have got some mentees, and then I say out of a group of 10 mentees, 2 are actually finding some changes, some good changes, and 8 are actually not able to build it. So then you again go back to the drawing board and thinking board. And that's the best way of learning, doing and teaching. I think that's the best way. So I think I've got the answer, Yogesh. I think both of you must have been, and you are the best learners because both of you have been in the field of teaching. I think Parul, you started your career while teaching, while inspiring, while sharing your knowledge with the students. So do you feel that those initial years of being in the habit of teaching is still keeping you on the learning curve, or is it helping you now also?
Absolutely, Arun. So I would tell you that teaching has never came out of me, and it will never go out of me, because
Yogesh, you also must be getting some lessons on day-to-day basis.
Yes.
Yogesh, you are not going to say.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't know. I think I should reveal one thing. I've been searching for my guru from a very, very long time. Right? Like I have been looking out for guru. I met so many people.
Yeah.
And then finally, I found my first guru, who was Parul. So,
and I think Yogesh, it's not something which is on light on it. It's a very serious, it's a very sincere note. I fully see the connection.
yeah.
I fully see the connection because I think even I have seen in my life that if there is one person who gives me absolutely the best feedbacks and timely feedbacks, and without having any fear, because when it comes to family, you get the real feedback. I think it's my wife, and I'm so happy to see that you just mentioned this. Parul, so which are those? How do you rate Yogesh as a learner on a scale of 1 to 10?
As a learner?
As a learner. So when you share some of these learnings based on your life and experiences, and you share with Yogesh, how good a student you think he is? As a lighter note. He's actually thinking seriously.
I rate 7 out of 10 because of the fact that the number, 3 numbers which I'm kind of giving the delta of is because he's also a teacher. So he will do his own learnings as well. So he cannot
also will think whether what Parul is saying is making sense, and then he will also give some advice. So I think, Yogesh, congratulations, because if I ask the same question to my wife, my ranking will be less than 5. So you are an excellent student. So Parul, this is awesome. Parul, I think, and Yogesh, both of you, let's talk a bit about employer branding, because this is something which is pretty new a subject for many people.